You're welcome to draw my life with me, Robert Louis Stevenson. Just kidding, I will not continue this accent. I cannot do an accent. Alright, in Scotland, which is the best country in the world, specifically Edinburgh, on November 13th, 1850, to Thomas Stevenson, who comes from a long line of lighthouse engineers, and from Margaret Isabella Balfour Stevenson, whose lineage traces back to the gentry of Scotland, and her father is a minister, brother's a doctor. They're pretty important stuff. It's a heavy family tree to come down from. But to this lovely couple was born their only son. Please excuse the arm. Robert Louis Balfour Stevenson. I got changed to Louis when I was 18 and got rid of Balfour. I just really didn't like the name. Anyway, I was a sickly child, which I inherited from my mother, who inherited from her father, Louis Balfour. Thanks for nothing, Balfours. Anyway, growing up, I was always coughing, had a fever. People probably thought it was tuberculosis, and I was always stuck, confined to my bed, but it wasn't that bad since I had my nurse with me, Allison Cunningham, who I affectionately called Cummy. And she would read me stories and Bible stories and make sure that I was having a great time, and it really stoked my imagination. Like, that's what kickstarted my career. Attended Dr. Henderson School's 1857 for a few weeks. I was too sick, so I got privately tutored for most of the time. And then 1863, I attempted a boarding school, but that didn't go through well either. And anyway, when I did go to school until I reached college, I was sick and made fun of for my lanky and awkward looks. But now I got to college, University of Edinburgh, and I grew my hair out, got a sick-ass velveteen coat. But my father expected me to be a lighthouse engineer, which I said no. So he told me to be a lawyer, which I said, okay, I guess, meh. But the only reason why I chose to go and become a lawyer was so that I could continue writing, and that was my fallback plan, basically. Anyway, I joined a speculative society. It's super top secret, super bad. Yeah, just kidding. It was a debate club. Guess you fell for debate. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, my cousin Bob and I also joined another organization called the LJR Club, which stands for Liberty, Justice, and Reverence, which basically meant we're atheists. Of course, Thomas, my father, did not take kindly to that. And that actually drove a stake into our relationship. My parents were terrified that I didn't believe in their beliefs anymore. That was in 1873. Anyway, later that year, I met Sydney Colvin and this wonderful woman named Fanny Sitwell. She was 34, separated with a son, and I was 23 at the time. I guess you could say I like older women. No big deal. But yeah, it was a weird dilemma with her. Like, I really wanted to be her suitor, but I also was her son in a way. I called her Madonna. It's a weird relationship. We don't talk about it. Anyway, Sydney actually kickstarted getting my work published, and he helped me publish my first essay, which is called Roads, and I published it under a pen name, L.S. Stonevin. At this point, I had to become a barrister, but I was like, nah, I'm good, wig. So I dropped being a lawyer to become a full-time writer, and I went to France. I traveled around for warmer climates, and I met the love of my life, Fanny. Yeah, wow, what a babe. Gorgeous. Yeah, not the other Fanny, but her name was Fanny Van de Grift Osborne, who was 10 years older than I was. So her background story, which is, yeah, it's wild. So she was an American born in Indianapolis, got married at 17 to a Civil War soldier named Sam Osborne. He fought, so they traveled to Nevada to meet up, They had 3 kids, Isabel, Lloyd, and Hervey. Hervey died in 1875. And of course, Sam was a complete sleazebag. He had a reputation for being a cheater. So Fanny left him to go to France with Isabel to study art. And that's where we met. She inspired me to write On Falling in Love, an essay that I published in February. And in August 1878, she left to go back to the States, and I was very sad. exactly a year after, I decided to pursue her and go to the States, much to the chagrin of my friends, and I didn't tell my parents I was leaving. Whatever. Anyway, I landed in New York, and then I had to take a train all the way down to San Francisco. Now, I was intended to go to San Francisco to meet up with Fanny, but my poor health caused me to take a detour into Monterey. There I stayed at the French Hotel, which is now known as the Stevenson House, a museum for me. And I rode second class on the ship here and then the train, so it was really, really bad for my health, and I actually almost died because I wanted to chase some tail. Cool. Anyway, I managed to recover, and Fanny came to help me heal, which is great because she also got divorced from Sam. Bye! And so we got married in 1880 and took a 9-week honeymoon in Napa Valley with our stepson Lloyd, which inspired the Silver Water Squatters, which is just a travel memoir. We flew back to England, and this is where she actually met my family for the first time, and she actually managed to heal the relationship between my father and I. Like, it's amazing. This woman, she used her charm and her wit. She's so clever and well-spoken. Like, she managed to get these two stubborn dudes together. In 1880 to 1887, I was looking for warmer places to live, and we ended up in Bournemouth, England, which was where I wrote a lot of my novels. I wrote Treasure Island, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, The Black Arrow, A Tale of Two Roses, and much more. Treasure Island was actually inspired when I played pirates with Lloyd, and I made a map and decided to make a story out of it. And as for Jekyll and Hyde, I had a nightmare one night, and it was just so vivid that I just had to write what I saw. So that's what I did. I wrote everything down, and I showed it to Fanny. She wasn't a fan. And she just told me to burn it. She didn't want me to publish it ever, and so that's what I did. I burned it, my first draft. But actually, I couldn't stop thinking about it at all. This dream, this story kept haunting me. So I just laid there thinking about it. Man, that was such a good story. And so, like the goddamn fool I am, I wrote it again in 3 days. My father passed away in 1887, so I took that as a sign to move our entire family, including my mother, to warmer places for my health and her health, I guess. So we went to Colorado. Just kidding, New York. We actually landed in New York and decided we'd just stay there for the winter. And this is where I actually published more essays and stuff like Pulvis et Umbra, and I started the Master of Ballantrae. And all the while, I was really getting ready for our family cruise into the South Seas. So it was a hot Victorian hotspot. That's where everyone went. Now, cruise time. In June 1888, we sailed from San Francisco all the way to Hawaii. And there I actually got to know the king of Hawaii. Yeah. Look at him, cool. King Kalakua. And from Hawaii, we sailed to different islands. Tahiti, Gilbert Islands, New Zealand, and then to Samoa. And then just being out on the ocean really invigorated me, feeling like it was a real adventure, like the stories I've written, the swashbuckling pirates. And so I wrote a collection of letters called In the South Seas, but it was published posthumously. In 1889, I traveled around with my stepson Lloyd, and we actually worked on essays and memoirs and stories together as we traveled around the Gilbert Islands, because it was a group of atolls. Now, in 1890, I bought 400 acres in Samoa after 2 aborted attempts to go back to Scotland. But I didn't mind, even though I did miss my home. Samoa became my second home. The people really grew to love me, and they called me Tusitala, which means storyteller. And as each day passed, I actually got more involved with their island politics, and I actually helped them chase away really bad European leaders who didn't do jack squat. And on one fateful day, I was just at home with my wife, and I think I was either opening a wine bottle or a mail jar. People get it confused, but something just burst December 3rd, 1894. I was only 44 years old, but the people of Samoa, they took care of me. They carried my body all the way to the top, where it faces the sea, and buried me there. My career was short, but it was bright. I mean, at some point, the critics were saying I was just a children's book writer, but I proved them wrong each time. And I just ended up doing what I loved and seeing the places I wanted to see, and I made my childhood dreams come true. And I think that's what matters.